This is Brian with ScreenFiles.com and Review. And what I'm looking at today is 2024's Atlas, directed by Brad Peyton. Atlas is the story of Atlas Shepard, who as a child, her mother created an android. And that's important, and I'll get to why in a moment. And she named this android Harlan. And what Harlan does is escapes the bounds of the program that limits what he can and cannot do. And he kills her mother and vanishes. 28 years later, Harlan reappears, and there are signs that he plans something bigger, something that could potentially result in the destruction of the human race. There's a lot good about Atlas, particularly the special effects, though the problems that it does have are huge. So huge, in fact, that just because it looks pretty can't really distract from them. And those problems are all rooted in the writing. For instance, the story doesn't seem to understand that there's a difference between AI and an android. Harlan is an android. He is not AI. An android is a robot designed to look like a human. There's a good reference to this in Prometheus. But the important thing is that Harlan is not AI. And the movie does not understand that. So when you hear characters talking about him, they refer to AI. And it makes no sense. In case it's not clear, AI is Skynet from the Terminator movies. It has no physical form. It is essentially a sentient program. It is not an individual. It does not exist in that sense. Now, the Terminator is an android because it is designed to look like a human. So you see the difference here. Atlas doesn't understand that difference. So they use the term AI to describe something that's not AI. And it is frustrating to watch because it's not that difficult a concept, really. And the difference has been spelled out in other movies. That the writers could not get that simple fact right is an indicator that they're going to be screwing up a lot more down the line. And screw up they do. The second problem with Atlas is Atlas Shepard herself. Now this is an issue because the movie is about Atlas Shepard. Now, keep in mind, you have that, it's almost a subplot, to be honest. The idea that Harlan is trying to destroy humanity. It's important to the story, to be sure, but it's not treated with the gravity that it deserves. And, as I said, the story revolves around Atlas Shepard. Atlas Shepard is a systems analyst or a specialist with AI, which once again, we are not talking about AI. This movie is not about AI at all. Though in any case, so she's working with the authorities to try to stop Harlan's plot. And she manages to finagle her way onto the ship that is going to destroy him. Since they've learned where he's been hiding, and they're going to proactively go after him, which is a good thing. So they arrive, and the ship warps, which means that the time these people are living in is really advanced, though it doesn't really look that advanced. There are a lot of mechanical devices and cars that look very futuristic, but it doesn't look warp ship futuristic, so that kind of doesn't really work all that well, I think. Though, in any case, the ship warps to the planet where they think Harlan is hiding. and it spouts all kinds of guns and stuff. It does a Transformers type thing almost. And that's really cool. But it's pointless. Why is it pointless? Because the ship is shot down minutes after arriving in orbit of this planet. This makes no sense at all, because if you knew where Harlan was, just nuke the planet from orbit.
I say we take off and nuke the entire site from orbit. It's the only way to be sure.
And the idea that the ship is brought down by ground-based missiles also makes no sense. Why does it make no sense, you might ask? Well, because what were all those guns on this ship for? If Harlan were to attack it, how would he do it? I don't know. Ground-based missiles? Since he has no ships, apparently? So, assuming that you're not going to do the smart thing, which these people are definitely not going to do, which would be, as I said, nuke it from orbit. You don't even have to get close to the planet. Just nuke it. But if you're not going to do that, I don't know, defend yourself against the missiles. You had to know that was going to happen. It wasn't this incredibly clever bid by Harlan. It was a fairly obvious attack. And the idea that they could not counter it, I don't know, by trying to evade the missiles perhaps, or destroying them, makes no sense. This movie is so badly written. These people don't understand what they're writing. And as a result, mistakes build upon mistakes build upon mistakes. It's like a pyramid of wrongness. It starts at the bottom. The bottom is a loss, and it keeps building on its own errors. It never gets crucial things right. This is another example of it. And there's a scene where Atlas is telling robot jocks, because everyone has their own little mecha, how dangerous Harlan is. And this scene is something you've seen done before in movies like Prometheus, like Aliens, and so on. Though, in those movies, it was done much better. In Atlas, you're not introduced to anyone other than Atlas herself, as well as the character Sterling K. Brown plays. Everyone else is just a person. You don't know who they are, you don't even know their names. And this is important. If you don't know who these people are, you don't care about them. And the attack I mentioned kills virtually all of them, but you shrug. And you shrug because they're not really people. They're just placeholders to advance Atlas's storyline. And that's something that's certainly not the case in either Aliens or Prometheus. No matter what you think about those two movies, they did that scene better. And it gave you character dynamics. You caught banter between the people talking. It helped you fill out who they are as individuals. None of that here, for the most part. So, you don't know who these people are, you don't care about them, and as a result, when they die, it just does not matter. The movie establishes early on that she hates AI, despite not understanding what AI actually is. She hates it nonetheless. And her whole approach is based on this bias. Now, the movie's going to have her get into a situation where she needs AI to save her life. This is fairly predictable, and you can see it in the trailer. It is not a mystery. But Atlas Shepard is not an interesting person. She is a collection of grievances and anger with no real reason for it. And in fact, as the movie progresses and we understand what event precipitated her hatred of AI, which is not AI, it's not even AI's fault, in fact. She causes her own problems and her actions almost literally threaten the entire human race later on. And another thing is that her name is Atlas. Atlas is typically a male name, and I've never, ever heard in all the years I've been on this planet of a female named Atlas. Now, that's not to say you can't do it, though it is to say you have to explain that shit. You just don't name a woman Atlas just to do it. You need to provide context for that. And one could perhaps metaphorically say that she literally carries the fate of the human race on her shoulders. And the name is a response to that. There is no reason why she should be named Atlas. Maybe someone calls her Atlas in a certain capacity for reasons, but there's no reason to name her character Atlas. So that's kind of frustrating. As I said, the movie is about Atlas becoming comfortable with AI. The movie is also about her achieving her dreams. At one point, she wanted to be a ranger, like the people we just saw got fragged. Though, by the end, she achieves everything that she wants from life. It is unearned. It is a frustrating movie. It has great visual effects, to be sure, but it is just not enjoyable. One of the reasons it is not enjoyable is that the characterization of Atlas is just so stilted. It's not that Jennifer Lopez can't act. She actually acts quite well. It's the idea that there is nothing to her character beyond her flaws. She is not really a person, as I said. She is a collection of issues. It makes it very hard to really care what happens to her. When I first saw the trailer for Atlas, I was impressed because it was so ridiculously campy. It did not seem to be a serious movie. The problem, though, is that Atlas thinks it is a serious movie, despite not even understanding the difference between AI and an android. It does not know what it's talking about, but it does so in a very pompous and arrogant manner. The characterization is terrible. It is a movie revolving around a person you know relatively little about because she has no real qualities that would make you want to invest in her. It is a gorgeous movie to look at, though, but it is just a waste of time. And it's not necessarily an enjoyable waste of time. It is almost painful to watch at points. So what do you think? This is Brian with ScreenFiles.com and Review. If you agree, disagree, let me know down below. And as usual, consider a like or a follow.